Hello, this is Odomne, and you're on the YouTube channel of the internet's most notorious ginger man, Thorin.
When you guys went to the Worlds for this year, this was another one where on paper, you're not actually supposed to necessarily get out of this group because it had like JDG was actually the favourite. But then even though DRX look was sort of a meme at the time, like they are Koreans at the end of the day. Any team that's like fucking deft and stuff, like you have to respect them at least. These are your ones, like you say. Like the first week of Worlds looked awesome, dude. Like you guys were winning all the games. Obviously you did get out, but the problem is, like I will say, if you look at the playoff teams, that you were the only obviously Western team, there's not really like there's any team you can play where it's going to be easy, you're going to win the game.
Yeah.
What did you think of this Worlds? Because like on the one hand, the sad thing is it started so well. You guys were the only Western team to get out, but I feel like everyone just remembers that fucking Nasus thing, and everyone just tunneled on at the end. Aside from the last couple of games, Worlds was going well, right? Give me some thoughts.
I mean, first week was crazy, right? We just did we did the same thing. We played our game and it worked versus the teams that nobody ever thought about, that it would work, and we were just doing so well because we just did our thing, and it was really wonderful. Like first days, right, when we didn't play we didn't play the best League of Legends, but I think, and our scrims were not even that good. I think the scrims at Worlds were one of I think it was worse than the previous year. Be fair, like I think the scrims that we had in 2021 Rock were the best for sure. Like later it was like a bit, I think, worse and worse with years. So it's like I was also shocked that we did so well, right, on stage. But I think everyone just picked up, their shit from scrims, and we just did what we had to do. And the drafts, I think we also were quite versatile in a sense. I think we did quite of the different things. I think first game I got Soraka in a good angle, so we also did the same thing that happened in Mamo. Then I think I got Rakan game versus top esports. That game was crazy, right? We should have lost, but then we get a comeback action. And yeah, then we end up 3-0, which was crazy. It was. And then, right, all incidents with everything. The Nasus thing, right? It was a miscalculation. We also completely made the draft kind of hard for it, but it does happen. And yeah, people only view this, which is really sad because, yeah, as you said, these Worlds, we did well. We got out of groups that nobody even thought about we would do that. And even though we got 0-3 in the quarterfinals, we play against GDG. They were insane. We were trying, right? And I think there was one game that we came up close and we could have won it. But yeah, they were good. And those teams after groups, they all were good. And you had to be the same. And we're not as good, but I do believe that we did a good job, right? Even though I think we should have capitalized more in the groups, right? I don't think we should have let that thing happen, right? I am, when I think about it, that situation with Heimer, I'm sad, that I didn't try to do better because I was practicing other champs, right? I had I had Karthus prepared to port. I just wanted to, pull off something really stupid, and because I knew it would work. And Nasus, we were not sure about it too much. I was trying to figure it out, right? We didn't figure it out in scrims because I think only the game, because the way it worked, at least for our scrims, is that we found out about the Heimer a day before, only in one game, and we played against an NA team, right? We won. We were okay, maybe it's not as good, but I was saying, guys, I heard a bit, right? We saw Beryl playing. I'm well, this champ has actually a lot of potential, right? Because it looked incredibly stupid when we played against it. But then I was figuring out what's the best champ, and I think, right, when I slept it over, I tried to think of the best champions, right? I don't know, Galio, Karthus, other champions, and I'm okay, what if Nasus can be good, right? Because there were some good angles, and we didn't figure it out, we were not prepared at all, for that. It was complete flip of a coin, I would say, when it came to Nasus. We were talking about it, but we didn't check things, which is bad, for world stage. It was bad that we did that, and it backfired really hard in that series and in that game, and then later, right? Because I think we also lost the other game against DRX that could define if we are first or second seed in group. But I would say outside of maybe those two games or this one game with Nasus, I felt pretty proud with how we did and how we managed to do this. And I think these Worlds were better than last year when it came to how Rogue played as a team on stage. I think we're doing better job, even though our scrims were not as good as previous year.
Like, the question I would have is this. Obviously, the reason that also sucks that people bring that up and it's a thing that they remember about this run is, like I said, I actually think your like deep champion pool is one of your best qualities as a player. It's brought a lot to your team. But this is an example of people sort of using it against you, right? The question I would have is this. People will remember the reason why it was also a big deal at the time is obviously you have famously been on LS's stream many, many times. And that was one of the champions he was obsessed with, that like it was some like fucking like sleeper OP support. But I will be fair to him because I do watch LS's stuff. He did use, not say to do it in that angle. He had like a different sort of like time.
Yeah,
so my question would be this, right? Is like, obviously you were going for a specific angle. Could the comp itself on your team have been filled out differently to make it work? Was that a mistake too, like when you picked it?
I think it was a mistake already that I picked it because it just didn't work versus the champs I wanted to do, right? But it was also, it could have been rounded better, right? Like, I did try to like explain that I need, like, let's say I needed like a lethality champion to work it out, like with my E, and then we're like trying to draft. I'm trying to say that, right? And then we pick like, I think we picked Rambo on 4, which we had like full AP team comp, and I'm like, we're thinking about picking Nasus. I'm like, guys, I don't think it's that good anymore, But we also didn't have anything prepared for Hamer. Like, I'll be honest, right? I was like pretty high. Like, I also got tunnel vision for that Nasus, right? I thought it would work, and it would like stomp lane and everything, and all of this didn't happen. And then, right, the game went to shit, and right, it's partly my bad, and right, I'm generally sad that it happened, but it taught me a lot, right? How you have to like fully prepared for everything and stuff, and yeah, like. It's sad that would be the thing that would be remembered, right? And also the fact that even LS got hit for that. Like, I was really shocked because he had nothing to do with that Nasus pick, by the way. Nothing to do. Like, I don't think I talked about Nasus with him for like days or even weeks, right? Because I was just figuring out myself where I could pick it. Because I thought that in some scenarios it could be good, but he had nothing to do with me. Like, forcing me to play any champs. Like, it was not a thing. I wanted to play whatever I wanted, and if something that he suggested felt like could be playable, I would have played it. If not, I would have not played it, and that's just the way it is.
I have a question along those lines then, because obviously that's another thing people assume. They assume any of the people in his circle, Fudge, fucking Bwipo, you think about all the people that go on the Crownie, they assume that essentially LS is like the secret draft coach for you guys and he just tells you what to do. Now, I will say that is something I did hear a rumour that some people, like not in your version, but in the old FNATIC when Nemesis was there, I did hear some coaching staff did grumble sometimes that like, oh, look, he wants to play this pick in scrims, and if you've watched the LS stream like 2 days earlier, that's like whatever they were all talking about is OP, right? Like you say, explain how it is, because I'm sure sometimes he has influenced you, right? He has sometimes brought some of this tech to you or given you like angles that you were able to use in pro. So what's the balance like? How do you use it? Like, he obviously secretly isn't your coach, is he?
Oh no, of course not. Like, I think we did talk quite a lot back in the day as well when I started my first year in LEC. Right, I was trying new things at the same time because I thought I'm doing like fine mechanically. And I think people also forget that at the same time, at that time, we're playing so much different stuff on bot lane too. I think, he was like, for instance, the first influence that he had was the Cho'Gath Senna that we played in our first year. I think it was the time when like, I think we pulled it off like 3 times, and 2 times it was successful, 1 time it was not, and then we stopped playing it, which was a bit sad, but that's sometimes how it happens. And that's where I realized that, like some of the ideas can be easily like put in competitive. I think after that Cho'Gath Senna game, I think it was that one with Beryl who played them right after, right? I think like a couple of days later, and I'm like, these champs work, these champs actually make sense. Like champs, like, I mean, I'm not sure, right? Nasus, I haven't found like a ideal case yet, right? That I could have pulled off, but those champions just work and you can make them work. And I think LS helped me realize, that you can get a bit outside of the box, right? A bit more. And I did share some things with him, like together when it came to ideas, right? But at the end of the day, you also have to find like the balance between stuff, because I don't, like I think LS is quite smart, but some things you cannot really put into a team, right? Unless you have like a specific environment. And I do realize that, right? That's why like I would never force things that sound crazy to people, if I think that it would just not work, right? So I tried my best. I tried my best to find the balance, which was quite exhausting, but I did believe, it can give you an edge at some point in your career. That's why I was trying my best to make it work.
Right, one of the things obviously we'll do in the interview is just to keep topics together. Sometimes I'll skip forwards a bit. So I'm going to ask a question that technically is about 2023, but in the same vein of like this whole LS and different thinking about the game. So one of the reasons why I actually knew, it was just obvious to me, you were going to be one of the people who tried the Keria move of bringing the ADs out as the support player, is because actually, like I said, this is why it makes sense to me you and LS vibe on some level, because one of the things LS is doing is, it's not that he always has found the secret tech, but he's always open to it. I think that's actually his biggest strength. And so when he does find something, and he occasionally does find some crazy OP shit like an item or a champion that you can just play, like his whole point is, because no one else is even trying these things, if you really do sort of strike gold, as the analogy, it's going to be gold. Like it can actually completely dominate. And so when these first came along, the problem I have is this, Trymbi. Part of it does make me think that this must have been a nightmare for Western coaches when this happened, because I'm sure loads of supports were telling their coach yeah, put me on the Callista, and that whereas the joke is, it's you aren't Keria, bro, but you were actually pulling it off. You were making it look actually fucking good, the Ashe, the Senna, the Callista. Give me some thoughts on this. Were you quick to embrace this? Were you resistant to the idea at all?
Yeah, when I saw the Ashe at first, I think I practiced it even before the split started, and I was like, guys, this is good, right? It actually makes sense, right? It made so much sense. But when it came to other champions, right, there is a stigma, right, that if you're not gonna pull it off perfectly in laning phase, it's just gonna fall off, right? And it is somewhat true, right? That's why at first, I think in the West, I was trying to kind of just show, right? The Ashe was a perfect example, because she was kind of a type of it, right? That a type of a champion that was an AD carry, right? But she had a lot of utility tools that just made her a perfect support also too, right? So if you were good enough, you could actually pull it off. And that was something I was trying off at first. And then, right, Keria, when it came to champs like Kalista, right, and then later Caitlyn and everything, they were good. I do believe they were good. But sometimes you just had to also play around it very well, and you had to have very specific concepts in mind when it came to macro and how you wanted to play. And I don't think many teams were ready for that, right? I think it's not easy to just change your playstyle to this, even though it might be so good for you, right? Just because maybe, one of your players is not the best when it comes to this, or, you're not really that flexible to pull it off. And I think, I was trying to pull some off, right? I think there was one G2 game when I played Kalista. I think it was a defining series, and it did pay off well, but I think later we just kind of, it just fall out, right? I think our team was not the best into enemy, even though we tried this Kalista pick, and after, when things like this happen in competitive, I feel some people just don't want to really come back to it in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense. And right, I like to be open about it, but it's not easy to constantly show new things, right? I remember in scrims sometimes I remember I was annoying at some point, I would try to pull off Sona or something, right?
Okay.
And I remember there was one game, right? I pull off Sona, the game doesn't go too well, and then others guys, we cannot just pick random chess, from time to time. And I'm like, man, I try to make it work, and I do believe it's good, right? But I agree with you. Maybe it's too much, right? And that was the times where I had to figure it out. That's why sometimes I think you just have to try to put it well together, right? This around this pick, let's say for instance Kalista, you have to showcase it so everyone believes in it, because if people don't believe in picks like this, they would just easily just tell it, it's bad. This game didn't work. It's just bad. Don't pick it ever again, right? And that's something that is annoying, but right, it's also true, right? People don't want to waste time. People want to make sure that the practice is as best as possible, and you just have to make it work.
Because to tie together a few of the topics I've set up loosely over the last few minutes, right? One thing I did want to ask you, and no one ever asks you this question, is, dude, Freddy122 has done an amazing job with media, because he never has to fucking do any. No one ever interviews this guy. I'm like, bro, he's even a champion of the LEC now, and no one interviews him. He just, if you notice, he never gets brought up, so he never gets flamed. You just get the praise either, to be fair. But he just goes under the radar, because he is just a really fucking quiet guy. So my question is this: when people talk about the rogue players, like we've been discussing in this interview. Notice they make it the other way around to how I see the game. They talk like the player could only do X, and so Freddy122 had to make this comp, right? As far as I can tell, all these players could play different champions. Like Larson can play a certain other champion. He plays LeBlanc and stuff. Inspire definitely could play a dog champion jungler if he wants to. Otto can play a fucking Jace. You could play all these Engage, even if it was just... As far as I can tell, part of it is, like, if you look at the whole time of Rogue, it's had a pretty consistent sort of draft philosophy. Like, some of this is coming from Freddy122, right? And I'm sure, like, to bring in the LS topic, when some fan tells you, do this crazy, like, one-trick pick, like, the coach isn't going to have the draft set up for that. He's not, and also, you might need, like, 2 different players to do a specific pick to make it work. Like, give me some thoughts, because it sounds like as someone with a lot of, like, champion options, part of it's going to be, like, a negotiation with Freddy122, right? He has his own vision of the game, and there's a reason why these Rogue lineups are always amazing at lane, and he's clearly drafting for this, right?
Oh no, of course. I mean, he had a lot of work to do, right? Because he had me, right? I was like trying like every single thing possible, and then right there would be like Larson or Otto telling him, "Hey man, you cannot give him so much like
Right.
options, right? Like you cannot do that." And he had to like find the balance, right? Because I think I do believe he liked like the way I was like thinking, because I was always trying to like work for us, right, to make it work so that we can just win the lane and then later win the game, because that's what he liked, right? When we had like winning lanes and we could do stuff. That's why he liked some of these ideas in the good spots. But yeah, of course he had to also figure out how to sell it to other teammates so that they also can like kind of believe in it. And right, it was not always easy. We're also, right, as I said, we are flexible, but I don't know if there was ever a team that was like as flexible when it comes to 5 players. I think it's very hard to find it. It's like understandable that some players just don't want to do like, yeah, if you're like the best at this and you're like top 1, why would you like go like a bit lower, right? If you think this is the best you can do. And right, that was like also something that you had to take in consideration and just had to work around it. And that's why I do believe Freddy did a great job, right? Even though sometimes he got flamed like quite a bit for some of the drafts, right? But most of the times, I think he just made drafts that just worked for us, right? And he always tried to make sure that we felt comfortable in the drafts. And it's not like he was the one like doing all the shots, right? Nowadays it's players who like call things out like a lot, where like they say what they want to play. And of course it varies depending on the team. But in our teams, like I think people were smart enough to like, so say what's the best and then figure it out with Freddy if it's a good enough pick or not. And if not, then Freddy would like, try to cook something up and just tell them what's the best. But I think barely ever it needed to be a case because just people were smart enough to like choose for themselves, right? But I think throughout this time that I worked with him, I think he got much better with certain things. I think when Mamo came in, I think he was quite a different coach compared to the first year when I worked with him, and he became kind of more mature as a coach, but as well it felt so comfortable like working with him and like so confident as well. I think it was okay. One thing that I can say is that before, right, we would always have like the draft talks, like I don't know, the timings were not always ideal. Sometimes it would be like 1 hour, 2 hours before the game, which is not ideal, right? And we would like talk about things, and things sometimes would go south. And he just got mad at it, He was like, "Okay, guys, I'm not gonna tell you what's gonna be the draft. Like, we're not doing the draft prep.
Okay.
Like, I'm just gonna talk to you maybe for like a bit, with like some. But I'm confident, about what's gonna happen. That's what happened in
So it's
Mamo.
a bit spicier than people know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I told him, okay, just, if you need anything from me, just ask me, but I'm confident that you know what you're going to do. I think at the end of the day, he did talk probably with I think Larson would like to be active in comp, right, and draft. So he probably did talk with them 1v1, but we never had like an actual draft meeting when we all like gave our ideas, and that's what also made the Mamo so special, that we tried like different new things and we were just so confident about them that yeah, it's just gonna work. That's basically right how it happened with the G2 game 1. Like I didn't know that the draft would go exactly like it did, right? Like we talked briefly right before the game just so he can give us some more confidence, but I never knew what's the game plan, right? And when I came in, I was a bit shocked, but then I'm like, okay, I believe you, so I'm just gonna do my part and I'm gonna find the best champion possible in order to work. And we did it. We made it work, and yeah, I really respect it after this Fred even more, how he just like changed, right? Because I don't think it was like so uncomfortable for him. But I think our team needed that at the time, this kind of confidence. And I think that was also what helped us kind of get out of this choke, right? The choking rogue part.
Right, as I alluded to earlier, actually a famous thing I've heard from many players privately and publicly on my shows is that Rogue was their favourite team to play scrims against, because famously, Europe especially, like, spoiler, any Hylissang team, so Mad Lions, fucking FNATIC, it's famous that, like, it's like you're going to be 10-0, 0-10, and it's like, there's not a real game at that point in time. Like, no real game goes like that in LEC. But everyone told me, if you play Rogue, they actually play normally, like they play on how they do on stage, you play proper like League of Legends. Was this a conscious thing from the team?
Oh yeah, we were trying to make the practice as best as possible for us. Like maybe, right? I mean, it was not as hectic as it was, right? I think more of the hectic stuff was like me picking up weird stuff, right, and everything. And maybe the draft sometimes would be spicy, but outside of it, when we got into the game, we just tried to play as if it was an official game. And I mean, I do believe everyone tries that, but I think for us, we were just making it working, right? We just did it all the time, and right, we had days when we didn't play as best, but that's just what happens every single team. And I think most of the time we were quite consistent when it came to the gameplay. I think everyone would come up to the day just thinking that we don't want to waste every single person's time. There's so many people coming up to work just to play League, right? And we want to make it count every single day, and I think that was our mentality that just helped us with the scrims too. I think that throughout, I'm not sure how our scrims were at the end of maybe 2022, but I think for a year and a half, I think we were a really good scrim partners for sure.
At the end of this 2022, when Worlds ended and you were in the quarters, if you think of that year, so you're in the final and you came second the first split, you won the second split, and then you go top 8 at Worlds, the only European. This is a fucking mega year. At this point in time, did you feel put it this way, would you have said at that moment, I am the best support player in Europe? Did you actually feel like you had that status?
No, I thought I'm good, right? But I knew that I have things to work on. So I just wanted to showcase it, right? That's why it was crazy to me that, right, the next year, even though it looked a bit worse in regular split, we just won it, right? And then later we did well. And even though, right, I do believe that year Europe didn't look as good as before, to be fair. I did think that year Europe was quite weak when it came to other teams and how we played. I still was proud with how I did, right? And I did believe that I'm I thought that I'm top out there, one of the best supports, or at least support that can just show really good League of Legends. And I think it was constantly, at some point I was actually doing good job, in every single game pretty much.
When at the end of this year, they changed Odoamne, look, Shigenda was your former teammate, so you know him from the past, but even so, the lineup that won LEC and went to the top 8, my problem is I just never got to see you guys lose. If you'd have played the next split and you lost, fair enough then, but part of me will always have a what if that lineup just played this year, 2020, well, last year, 2023, what if you got to run it back? What were your thoughts when you found out there's going to be no Odoamne and you didn't run the lineup back?
I mean, right, I was good friends with Odo, and right, I did believe that we didn't need. I didn't think we needed a change, right, at the time. But at the same time, I did understand, right, why they wanted to change something. It felt at some point that we were doing quite bad in scrims, and even though we were doing good on stage, it was not as good as it was before when it came to practice. It felt like we might. It felt like we might fall off, after this year. It did feel like this. And Shigenda, the idea that was at the time is that Shigenda was already showed when I played with him, right, the kind of style that Odo was doing, right. But at the same time, Shigenda also picked up a lot of carry champions, and he was doing really well throughout the years, right. Even though he had this time with Vitality with 10-man roster. I think later in years he was just showing that he's one of the better players, right? And there's a lot of, as well, I think, teams that wanted him at that year too. So they just, I mean, right, I didn't know until the end, but right, I didn't understand the decision, right? And it did feel like it, at the time, I was not exactly sure if it would be an upgrade, but I was I think it can easily work, right? If we're gonna do the way we do. And I thought, okay, I understand you guys, and I think, let's try to make it work. And maybe it will be good. At some point I was okay, it's an upgrade. Okay, it just happened. I think we can just do it, right? But then the year happened. It was not as ideal as we wanted it to be.
Even though in the 2 splits with Rogue, because obviously we went to the 3 split format and Koi at this point in time, the actual end results aren't that crazy bad. Like the first one, you make 3rd, you come like a playoff run. The second one, you did beat G2 and then they lost them in a 3-game series. That's not the end of the world, right? At this time, though, even when the team was having like okay results, I do remember the bot lane got mega flamed. Like Comp himself got flamed, but obviously you were getting a lot of people saying you were in against part of the reason people think you weren't in the team anymore. How would you individually and the bot lane in general, how was that part of 2023?
It was hard for us for sure, because it just felt like we changed the style completely. Even though we wanted, right, the idea was that we would try to be more flexible in a sense, but it did not happen at the end of the day. We kind of stopped playing around bot so much, where for us it was hard for us on bot lane, because we were the guys who were played around, right, and we would always like do trades or like do things that would help our team get advantages. And then later we just had to fill in the role where, like, you know, enemies can do kind of whatever they want just because we kind of want to play on the other side, right? And we are trying to fill in the shoes, but I think that meta also was not as helpful for us, right? I think that meta was like actually quite heavy bot lane oriented meta, right? With like, I think again, like Lucian, Nami and other stuff. I think Hammer was played at the time too. And it was just constantly fighting on bot lane where, like, I think we made our lives a bit harder with like, trying to play to all 3 lanes, right? And that the way we did, right, is that before we would always try to get 3 winning lanes and we would always try to like, just get advantages from there. That now I think Marang just had so much to do, I would say, that it was just impossible to make it work, right? I think that's what I felt like at least. But also the fact that we are not doing that good 2v2 as a bot lane also didn't help, right? Because we didn't have like a constant good lane to get pressure of. That's why I think Larsen just tried to make everything work, but from mid lane I think that year was like a bit hard to do anything, or like that split. I think it was mostly either bot lane or top lane, and I think in both sides we were not doing as good as we wanted.
I'm going to leave this question as open-ended as possible. It goes like this. Was Trymbi kicked from Koi? Was that the reason you left?
Well, let me think about it. How to phrase it? Shit. I mean, yeah. Like they tried to find like an option, right? How to upgrade the team, and they decided that I would be the easiest way to get upgrade from, to just, you know, not change me. Like they thought that it would be the easiest to change the support role.
Did that hurt your
like
feelings? Does it feel like you're just not wanted? You know, like suddenly before you win the championship, now you don't need you.
I mean, you know, like I was quite close to everyone, right? And when I heard about it, like, you know, I just talked with everyone and like I tried to get their like points, right? And I agreed with them completely, right? And I did realize quite of the things, right, that were missing from me, and like things, you know, that I could improve on. That did, you know, help me later in FNATIC. But on the other hand, I did believe that, you know, we just had so many issues from different angles that, you know, I felt bad feeling that, you know, I was the one, right, that they thought that, you know, needed a change. But yeah, I could agree with that, but I felt like there was other things that were just, I felt worse at the time, right? I felt like there were things that just worked. They were just not working. But yeah, if they thought, you know, I was like, okay, if they thought that I'm the one that is easiest to change, sure, you know, like that's your guys' choice. Like it's not the way it ends, but sure, like if you guys think so, why not?
Right, we have a saying in English that goes, form is temporary, but class is permanent. And it's often used, obviously, for sportsmen, right? And the premise goes, I think it's a pretty good principle to apply to games. The idea is, like, how you do day-to-day, your form can obviously be up and down, and people can have a slump, in terms of the way they can have a period where they're way better than they are. But the idea is, if you look over someone's whole career, if they actually are, like, a truly world-class player, it'll just show through. Like, you know, they'll come back to the top, or the meta will change, and they'll be back, right? In this particular scenario, I feel like what's funny is, even though on Koi, everyone was flaming you, including me and everyone else on all the shows, the joke is when we all heard this move to FNATIC, I think everyone's response was what I'm describing here. They were like, wait a minute, isn't this like a bad trade for Koi though? Because like, Adrian's all right, and yeah, Trymbi wasn't good, but in a new team, in a new environment, maybe it like brings out and it kind of is true, like you kind of turned your game around immediately. What do you think of this? Like, did you actually yourself, because I was asking there, like, you know, did it feel bad? Did you also have a thought of like, yeah, but if I get to a different team though, with different players, like I can turn it around, like I can bounce back? Did you actually believe you could come back to the top?
Yeah, I just thought that I just needed a bit of a different, like, refreshment, I would say, after all these years. I also felt, like at some point I was not like appreciated as much, right? But also the fact that I think very important thing is that I had some really honest talks with some of the players and coaches, right? That they just helped me realize what I have to focus on, right? And even though, right, I did think it was like, I'll never say it was solely my fault, for whatever happened with like Koi, right? I did have my part in it, right? Just because of how everything happened in an environment and stuff, it did influence me. And that was something that, just helped me realize that I just had to push forward, right? And make the things out of, make the best out of those things that happened. And yeah, it's like similar to this I will dominate Ali no flash thing, right? Like I was, it was like honest things that I got, and I just tried to work on them, and it did. I think for me it did wonders. Like in FNATIC, I think it helped me so much, and I was really working to make sure that I'm good to go. Sadly, I didn't have the best. I didn't have the best off season at that time because it was very stressful off season. I didn't have much break, honestly, from all of these things, which I'm quite sad about, because that's where you get all the time to just refresh, and I didn't get that time. But I was really happy with how I started in FNATIC, how it felt so different, the team felt so different. And right, partly it was me, partly it was Noah, and partly it was because, everyone started believing that it can work, right? And yeah, we did it work, and I was really happy with that, because I think from me, I did whatever I could in order to get this ship going, and I think that's what happened.
Right, give me some thoughts on Noah, the ADC, because obviously when you first joined the team went on this like crazy streak of wins, and at the time I remember, even though he himself was being brought in, obviously to replace Reckless, like in the middle of the season, basically, the hype at the time behind the scenes was like, this guy isn't even just supposed to be good. Like people were saying he's like the sleeper OP like ADC in all of Europe, and like even in the RLs apparently he was some like wizard that people thought was mega. So like, who was this guy? Did you know about him before you played with him? What was it like to play with this guy?
I mean, I would watch sometimes his streams, right? Because he was playing in Ultra Liga at the time. So I would watch some from time to time how they play. So I had a little bit of knowledge about him. Then I would ask my coach, right? Like what were the ideas and everything behind it, right? And yeah, it did feel like he would be the match, right? And then I think his character, his charisma was something that just helped this team so much too. Like, it was way different comparing it to Marang, right? Marang was a bit more of a shy guy. And I felt like the change of characters also like helped it, right, for me to like work again with like a Korean player, because I think when I worked with Marang, I helped him a lot at first, right? And I think I have like, I mean, I wouldn't say like I have a gift, right? But I think I helped Marang like get comfortable to be in a team, and I tried to do the same with Noah with all of the experience I had with Marang. Of course, it was easier because he was just this much more open, and I think it did. Yeah, it helped so much the team. I think we both, as well, the fact that botlane was actually doing more than well, kind of gave like this idea to the team that, oh guys, like we can just win games right now, right? Like we can actually try to like win all of them and just play out the scrims better and better. Because at first it was not as good, as I would like it to be, and it was quite rough in a team. But I think the fact that we are doing good on bot lane gave them like this good confidence to go into the split. And I think Noah overall, right, when it comes to mechanics, right, he was really aggressive, he was really confident. And that was like kind of something that people didn't see for a while in an AD carry, I think, and that was something that could be, it couldn't be matched by many at the time.
One thing I found quite strange was the FNATIC lineup began super awesome, then dropped off a cliff, and then for the season finals came back and was really good again. What happened in the middle? What went wrong in the middle?
I think the meta shift was a bit odd for us. I think that, right, like, I mean, for me, it was quite weird at first how all of the things changed, right? There was like situations where like Alistar was first pick. I'm like, how is that the thing? I was like shocked at first. I'm like, guys, there's no way that's the thing, right? But at the time, I also didn't have that much confidence as I had in previous years because of all the Koi situation that happened. I was like, okay, I will just try to fill in the shoes, I'll try to do the thing. And at first it was not as easy because we also were trying to figure out the shoes for others as well, like what champs they should play. And I think all of this kind of made us just not be so confident in ourselves. Because I think at first in regular split it was quite simple, right? It was like the same enchanter meta, same champs in jungle, same champs in mid. We just made it work, right? Like I was trying to like give direction from bot lane and stuff. But then when everything just shifted around, like for me at least, like the support haven't been like this for like a year and a half at least for me, like, and also when it came to AD carries, like they also were different. We had like a bit of a bad read at first when it came to like other champions in different roles. I think that's what kind of made us feel, that's where the confidence boost kind of dropped down right from the regular split, because it just felt like we dropped the ball and we didn't know how to pick it up again. And the champs, we were just kind of freestyling at some point. So I, at least from my point of view, I try to make sure that I will try to pick up the champs that feel good in the meta, even though I mean, I think, to this day, I did not agree with, like, some of the champs, right? I did not believe, like, I didn't like Nautilus, for instance, or like stuff. But, if that's what the team needs, I wanted to do everything I could in order to facilitate them. And that was like my thing, and that's where, and I'm happy at the end of the day, I am happy about that, because first, I got to relearn it again, right, in my own way, and then I could see players like Razor completely shine, because I could like help out in this in a sense. But he was like the one that was like completely stomping with like Karthus, Talia, and I'm like, okay, if that's how we want to play and that's our like meta read and that's our belief, I'm gonna follow it, right? If that's what wins us the games, I'll do what I can in order to win.
Bearing in mind, after the spring split, you were essentially, like we said, just kicked from your team, and then you ended up going at the time. Actually, it was a risky move. People didn't even know is FNATIC going to be any good. The season ended with you guys in the finals. You were back to the finals with a chance to win. Like, was there a real chance? Like, was there ever a world you could have actually won that final?
I mean, I wouldn't say it from my perspective, because I had a really bad finals. Like, I'll be honest, right? I didn't play well. It was like really shaky from me. I think if I played better, I think there was a chance. Like, I think one game that we pulled off, I was like, what's happening? Like, how is that a thing? Because the game that we pulled off, it was like, I think teammates all like stepped up, right, for me, tried to help me a little bit, and I was like, holy shit, like it's winnable, right? Like, it was sad the first two games went like this, but it was also the matchup of like the way we our strategies and drafts were. I would say I think that we had like our own kind of style, while like G2 was a really good like answer to it in a sense. So first two games, they went this way. Also, we were like misplaying in early game. Then if you misplay against G2 in early game, it's a tough one then, because they just like to snowball so hard out of it. And that was something that I knew from Hansama, right, and others, and that was something that I think I was at least not prepared because of like all the situation with like meta to like deal with. But like at the end of the day, they win and they did deserve it. I think they were like, they were so crazy in split. And for instance, even Mikyx, when I saw the champs he was like trying to pull off in solo queue, and then on stage, I was happy for them, right? The way that I could see Hansama also lifting the trophy like on the stage, I was like, they did good.
Obviously, the other parties thought, even in spite of the final, to reach the finals and for FNATIC to have success and to go to Worlds had to be vindicating, though, right? To make you feel like I wasn't totally the problem in Koi. It's not just me. I don't just suck, right?
No, I was so happy when we got to Worlds, right? Then we went to finals and we actually won versus Mad Lions. Like, I felt good, right? Of course, the way the finals went, like, I'm a guy who just, tries to get the perfection, right? So I felt bad, the way it went. But then I'm like, man, like I'm gonna go to Worlds now again, right? I got to finals. I went to another land possibly, right? It didn't go perfectly the way I wanted, but holy shit, like I got there. I could have been, I could have been out like weeks ago and just not do anything and just play solo queue, or like not even know what's gonna happen. That's what's right now. When I think about it now, that's what thrives me now, to come back again, because like I can get there. I believe I can get there, and it's not as hard task as I thought it would be at first. I just have to work it out again and just try to do what's best for me.
When you guys went to Worlds, one of the tricky things about evaluating how someone does at Worlds now, I'll give people the update, because I come from Counter-Strike where we've had a million Swiss systems, is it's no longer about did you get out of the group or not, it's who did you play. Because in this system, as you found out, like you had to beat an Asian team. If you couldn't beat one, you played LNG, BLG and Weibo, so 3 of the LPL. Basically, you had to beat one of these teams to get out. And if you didn't, which you didn't in the end, you didn't get out, right? How do you evaluate this? Because if I actually look at this overall, like most people would favour all those teams to beat FNATIC. You know, no hate on FNATIC. I know people didn't have big opinions of Weibo, but it is like an LPL team at the end of the day. How do you evaluate this run overall? Like, obviously the team was like, there was a world where maybe it could have gotten out, but it didn't happen. How do you evaluate this Worlds?
I mean, right, like looking at the scores, we just lost to all of those LPL teams, but some of those games were like so winnable. Like
right.
I was sad, right? I was just sad. Like I think one of the games we like griefed. I think there was like a random grief in the early game that just snowballed later, you know. Even though we were still managing to somehow get even, you know, to the game. So, right, some of those games were just like throw away like this. But at the end of the day, right, if that's what format makes you, that you have to do. Okay, like you have to like deal with that. And right, I wouldn't say it was like ideal, right? I don't know how to like make it work, right? So like the format is better, but it was like a refreshment, right? I felt like it was like quite of a refreshment compared to what was happening in the previous years. And yeah, like at the end of the day, I was hyped for those games. So, you know, I was trying my best. And like, yeah, the Weibo series is also like one of those that is just like so strange to have, you know, in your career, but that's just how it is, and you have to deal with that. And I believe, you know, we showcased, like I at least felt like I showcased some of the magic that, you know, that what was defining me at least last year, and that was something I was happy about, because that's something that I kind of lost this year with like all of the problems and things that were happening in the team. That, you know, I come first game versus Weibo, we like draft, and they 1-2, they like pick, I don't know, Renata Poppy. I'm like, okay guys, these guys are trolling, like we just have to like do something about it, like not to be mean to enemy team, but we just have to win now, right? And that was like, it was nice, because that kind of also showed me, yeah, like Trymbi is still there, and I just want to play the game sometimes the way I want, sometimes they play my team wants, but yeah, I just want to just showcase the best League of Legends possible. And yeah, some of those games we couldn't really manage, and that Weibo series was winnable. It was winnable, right? Maybe third game will be remembered, right, as me just trolling the draft. I don't know, like there's.
I've got a question for that one for you. Let me spin this into a question.
Sure.
Because I'll set it up like this. So another saying we have in English. The joke is, by the way, I've actually looked even in Polish and other languages. Almost all like proverbs and sayings exist in all languages. There's just a different version of it. You know? So one of the ones we have in English is people say you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Damned means like, you know, condemned to hell. And the idea is there's certain scenarios where it doesn't matter what you do. People are going to say you did it wrong. So the joke is, this is the perfect contrast to the year before with Nasus. Like, the year before, you went for the edgy pick, it didn't work, and everyone flamed you and said, why don't you just pick the safe option? This time around, you picked the fucking safe option on game 3, and everyone flamed you like, why don't you just put your balls on the table and pick Blitzcrank? Which is like, what? Like, dude, I feel like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like, they actually wanted you to lose by doing the crazy pick this time, right?
I mean, right, when I then went on Twitter and saw all of this stuff, right, and then like all of the things, like I was just shocked. Honestly, I was just shocked. But right, I agreed in some way, right, with the things. But then I was like, guys, like, come on, like how can it be like this? I was just mind blown that I was like, you know, again, that was like a thing. Yeah, I was the problem, right? I don't know, my champion pool this time I was told that I have too weak of a champion, too small. I'm like, okay, guys, like, sure, you know, if you guys think so, why not, right? I didn't have the best year, right? I didn't play a variety of champions I do normally, but that doesn't mean I can't play those champs, right? There is always reasons behind that. And I think, right, I even made a tweet, right, about like how I believe like this draft went, or like what I thought, you know, during the thing. And yeah, it's just crazy to me, right? Because I do believe if I picked like Pyke or Blitz, like, first, it was not ideal. Second, we would have probably lost the game faster, right?
Yes.
That was,
yes.
And I would probably get flamed for that, you know, for picking like an aggressive champion, right? Maybe not. I don't know, right?
Sure.
Like people, you never know how things are. Maybe people would be like, okay, guys, the guy tried, you know, he tried to pick aggressive. Okay, maybe it could have been like this, but at the end of the day, and you know, in the heat of a moment, like I just thought, like I think Alistar was like the most played that we had I knew it's not good. I knew it's not ideal, but I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do in this specific scenario? Like, I'm just curious if you put any other support player, what they do. Like, I don't know. Maybe if you put Hilly, okay, Hilly plays Pyke. Sure, he plays Hilly, but I'm pretty sure the Blitzcrank Pyke will be banned in that scenario, or like something, you know? Okay, sure. Or, you know, like, I thought about all of this for like quite a long time, and I just, in that heat of a moment, I felt like whatever I pick, I'll get fucked, you know?
Yes.
So I just wanted to pick a champion that I felt most comfortable with at the time, even though I didn't think it was good. And yeah, people flame me again, right? People like put the narrative, yeah, the guy picks Nasus, the guy picks Alistar, just don't pick him up, like, okay, sure, you guys can do that, like, okay, like, unlock, like, if that's your way of being, right, why not? But I know there's like people out there who respect me and appreciate me, like the way I am, and I'll just do my thing, and hopefully, I'll get back there and I'll just showcase it again and try to go for the highest possible options.
Well, what we'll do is we'll use this moment as a segue to have a learning moment for fans out there. Because one thing I will say is this, right? I don't very often, like, obviously I'm not some like good player at League of Legends, but if I ever reference League of Legends, unlike other people, I'm not doing it self-indulgently. I'm actually doing it to make a point. So I always tell people that when I play solo queue, I am a Pyke terrorist because I play it in any role and I play it in every matchup bot lane. I don't give a fuck, mate, because essentially I just want to play Pyke. It's a really fun champion, right? But from the reason I bring this up is, when people say this in pro games, like, that looks like a Pyke angle to me. It's like there's two elements you guys are missing. I want to ask Trymbi about this. One is, as much as you're thinking of the brilliant Pyke game where like Hylissang tortures like top esports and gets ahead and stuff, what everyone forgets is, dude, there's a million matchups that Pyke just fucking can't even get through the lane on. Like, you just wrecked completely. And then secondly, I think they did this with the Blitzcrank and Pyke angle, dude. There's sometimes a specific champion that will be good against, but then the other champions on their team counter you and you're not going to be able to do anything. And you're never going to get to this dream scenario you're thinking of when the Pyke's jumping on everyone or the Blitz is getting all the crazy. You're never even going to get to that point in the game. Like, can you give me some thoughts on this? Because I feel like in bot lane, especially because it's a duo lane and it's all about the matchups and how much jungle help you get, I feel like it's really easy for people to think of their solo queue game when they think of these champions, and they're not thinking about how hard it is to like get through lane, get out of lane, to not be countered by like 3 champions in a team fight or something. Give me some thoughts on this, because this feels like a perfect example of that, right? Where to them it was like, just pick Blitz or whatever, thinking of like one thing it can do. But like, like you say, all the support players I talked to said there was nothing you could do with that draft. Like, if they pick the things that they want, you probably just lose the game. It looks rubbish,
Yeah, like, I mean, when you think about it this way, right, the way our like, people don't even forget the fact that we're blue side. They have the counter pick on support, right?
Yes.
Like, they could do whatever they want. And yeah, as I wrote as well on Twitter, like, I thought about so many champions there, right? I wanted to pick Blitz. I wanted to pick Pyke, right? When I thought about Blitz, I even was told, like, one of the teammates that it's not that good, and I agreed with him, But then I was still, the other teammates are like, maybe it's good, right? Maybe this is our only play. But then, yeah, I think about it. Okay, I picked Blitz. I think we had like what? Sejuani, Silas, I think, that game, and one more melee probably top lane. Okay, I picked Blitzcrank. What if they just drop Braum Caitlyn on bot lane? How do we even play the game later? Like, okay, maybe I'll get like a kill off if I play Blitzcrank. Maybe I'll hit Caitlyn out of nowhere and Braum will, like, I don't know, lose his mind, not use E, and maybe we get a kill, right? But then is, like, how is this better when enemies has like a champion that just counters the whole our draft pretty much, like, in my opinion, right? Maybe people are wrong, but or like think different, but that's what I thought. And I'm like, okay, I'll try to pick a they could have done the same, right? Like, they could have still, when I picked Alistar, they could have picked Braum anyway, but I was like, okay, it's a bit safer champion, right? Maybe there's gonna be a fight I can get a better ult engage off and then ult off, so I can buy time for my teammates, right? I was thinking more like in that draft. I was like, okay, they'll try to fuck me however they want. They have the resources, right? I would just try to pick a champion that I think is the best with my team, right? I'm not sure. Maybe Alistar was not, right? Maybe it was Blitzcrank anyway, right? Maybe. Like, I was not sure about it at that moment, but I was like, okay, maybe Alistar will help it out with everything. And right, it did go bad, like the laning phase and stuff, but we didn't get like completely fucked. I think we were losing plays because they had a better matchup, right, than a Caitlyn. But I think I died only once in a lane, which I was like shocked about. I was like, okay, I'm gonna die like 5 times, maybe 4, versus like those guys, and it didn't go as bad as it was. And the game was actually winnable. The fact that I played bad is a completely different aspect, right? Yes. That I'm not talking about, and I agree with that. I played bad. Some of those team fights I didn't play properly, and I think if I did, maybe it would have gone different way, right? But yeah, I know about it, and like, that's something I can take something out of it, right? When you tell me, right, the Pyke, Blitz, like every other champion, like, sure, but I didn't think at the time, and I do not believe to this day, right, that it's like, yeah, that they could have been like a game changer. Like, it was already kind of like hard from the get-go, and I am sad at the end of the day that I am the one who gets hit by that. But okay, if I have to take the hit, then sure, why not? Like, if that if that helps others, sure, like I'm fine to do it, like it's a team game, and at the end of the day, like it's a team that also like does everything and stuff. And sure, if that's if support is the one that got fucked, and I was the one who got fucked by the champion and pick and everything, okay, sure, I take it. Like if that helps sleep at night, for some, like sure, like that's just how it is.
One player I do want to ask about from the FNATIC lineup, because he is just an enigma, if you know that word. He is of Humanoid, of course, because the joke is Trymbi. I'm actually in the future probably going to do some content on this, because it's one of those people I'm just interested about. So I've asked a lot of like former teammates and coaches, and I'm not even joking. Some of his former teammates tell me they can't read him, and they don't really know, like, does he care? Like is he mad? Is he just not give a fuck? Like they say he's really difficult to read. Like, and so the question I have is this: based on things I've heard, first of all, I've heard he has quite a high opinion of like his game knowledge and like understanding the game, and then coupled with that, I've heard he's not a fan of people who make mistakes all the time or do weird shit. So how did you two match up? Did you have a good relationship? Did you kind of get him?
And to be fair, like if I have to be honest, I don't know what our relationship is right now. Like I don't know. Like I actually don't know. Okay, I do like him though. Like I think he's like a great guy, and even though, yeah, I agree with like those things that you said. Like it's hard to read him, and I even believe I know how to read people. Like I felt like I got some, yeah, but then I'm like I can't read him. Like I don't know. But then at the when things like when everything was done right, and then I thought about it a bit longer. I feel like Humanoid just feels like this at first, but he is a generous guy, and he's actually kind, and like so funny to be around with. But it's just the way he is that it's hard to see it, at first. And I kind of wished I got a bit closer with him, in that sense, because I think that would help a lot. But that was like kind of this aura around him that just kind of didn't help, me going there, right? And that was like something that I'm sad about, because I think he's a great guy. Like I also got to be with him outside of League, and he's like he's like a crazy guy. He's like so nice to be around with, and I do like it. And when it comes to game knowledge, right? Yeah, I can see he thinks highly, right, of himself and like this, like. But I do think it's correct. Like sometimes when he would speak about the game, and he taught me like 2-3 things that I would just have for life, now when it comes to gameplay. I can see why Madlanus was like doing so well as well with some of the aspects, because he's smart as fuck. Like it was really nice to work with him, even though, right, I don't think he always shared these ideas. I don't know why, right? Like for any reasons, and I'm sad that he didn't. Right? I would love to learn from him as much as I could.
Ah, fair enough. Right, one thing I thought we'd do is, normally I would ask at the end of the interview why you're out on a team, but I think that's kind of a bomber note to end the interview on. So let's just do that part now of like why Trymbi isn't in the LEC, and then we'll ask some like fun stuff at the end. So why isn't Trymbi in LEC for 2024?
I mean, I'm not sure how much I can say, but yeah, right. First of all, we ended Worlds quite late, so then it turned out that some of the teams already had their supports, right? Which it kind of threw me off, like too, right? I thought that I would have like a bit better options, right, coming into off season as a free agent, right? And then later, right, I did have talks with teams, but not much happened out of it too, like in a sense. Like I don't know how, like I won't say like specifics or anything, but it just right. And then right when I'm going into free agent spot, like also I did think about staying with FNATIC, right? I did not know what were their situation, right, and what they wanted to deal with, because yeah, as I said, we all ended off season late because people also needed like any kind of a break, right, to like then come into thinking of the next season. And I did wait quite a bit, right, for things to like get somehow, to like anything get clarified. And at the end of the day, like without saying any specifics, like ended up teamless. And yeah, that's just how it is. And I do believe break can do me good. I really wanted to go again, right, this year and just showcase again that I can do well, because I knew it would be a challenge, either if I stay in a team or in a FNATIC, or like go to a different team. But yeah, at the end of the day, that was not the thing, and I would just have to work around. I'll just have to work around that, and hopefully there will be an angle for me either after winter split or after spring split.
If I read out your resume, I'll do it now. You'll see what I mean, right? 3 years in the LEC, you went to Worlds every single year. 1 year, you almost got out of a group of death. The other year, you did get out of a group, actually in an era with 4 seats from the LPL and LEC Keria, you got to top 8. You were in a final every one of those years, and you won an LEC title. Like, dude, that resume is like a Hall of Fame player in Europe. That's a fucking banger resume. Do you feel as though, like, obviously it's a bad moment right now to ask this question, but do you feel like you've actually been appreciated for your career? Like, you haven't been in the league that long, but you've had a pretty good fucking run. That's a pretty epic resume. Like I say, like, that could be like one of the greatest players of all time from LEC. There's not many people have even won the title.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, yeah, I do. I thought at some point I was appreciated, but for most part, I do not think I was appreciated. Depends, right? When it comes to fans, depends. When it comes to players, also depends. I do think, like, everything outside of LEC, when it comes to, like, production and stuff, like, whenever I would do some stuff, like, I felt appreciated when I was, like, doing, like, because I'm also, like, a guy who likes to be active outside of the game itself, right? I love to be, like, in a content area, and that's where I was quite appreciated. But outside of those in LEC, not as much. And at the same time, there's also, like, I mean, there's for sure, like, rumors as well going on that maybe don't help me out too much, which
shall I ask you one? The rumor is people think that you're toxic. They think that's why you got kicked out of Koi.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've heard it, right? It's what people say, right?
I mean, I do not believe so. Like, you would need to define toxic as well, because like this, like the things that were happening in Koi too. Like, I'm not gonna talk about them, right? But things were not, like, as good as like not to flame because it's not even like a part of a Koi with eBay or anything. It was just specifically Berlin, like the LEC part, right? It's not even like I'm flaming any, like, yeah, it was just there that was not ideal for a team, and I'm not sure if, like, people know about this or not. Sure, like, if they don't, like, I'm not gonna talk about it. Like, the only thing right now I can do with, like, those rumors is I can just beat the allegations by just being who I am, and I would just do it. Like, I do not believe I'm toxic. I have some habits, and I talked about it with, like, multiple people in my career that I gained from, like, different players and different environments that just didn't help me in this year specifically and previously. But I know about them, I'm aware of them, and I'm doing my best to fix them. Like, and it, to say it this way, like, I knew in Koi they were not helping me, and I fixed them in FNATIC. That's why I think I was doing so well. Right. But then at some point, I think I didn't have enough energy because I didn't get a good enough of a break to work around it too. It's an excuse. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to make it like this is, like, the biggest excuse or something, but I didn't have that much energy coming into, like, also summer as well, even though I tried my fucking best to do things, to make things work. And I was proud of myself at some point with how I dealt with stuff. But yeah, then at some point, some of the habits that you have, they just come back, even though, you somehow dealt with them, just because, like, things are also not going the best. And yeah, that's what I'm going to work on right now. I'll have quite a bit of time. I am hopeful, I just want to be back. I just want to compete again and, like, show some of the people that they're wrong with everything that they think. But at the end of the day, I just want to, like, show myself that I can do it again, just, like, be there, because I've been, like, on top for, like, so long. I don't think, I should be treated this way just because of, some things that, I think happen to every single player anyway.
I saw in your rookie year in the LEC, when you had an interview and they talked about going to Worlds, you actually said one of the players you wanted to play is someone you referenced earlier. You played in scrims at that Worlds, of Meiko, the support of EDG, right? Was it all it was hyped up to be? Why did you want to play this player specifically?
I mean, it felt, I don't know, that guy was just crazy. For instance, on his stretch, he would just make magic work, and it felt it was so smooth, whatever he was doing at the time. Like, yeah, both him and Keria, it was just, like, when we played, I think, versus Meiko and Keria, I think scrims were going really bad. We were like, I think those was the only teams we were, like, getting consistently clapped on, maybe, like, outside of one day when we did fine. And yeah, I was just learning from them so much, when it came specifically for laning phase, but also how smooth they were with things. I think every Worlds scrims that I got to experience, taught me a lot about, like, how to deal with laning phases and how to make sure that I can come to Europe and try to, just try to clap people in lane, with, like, some of the tricks or just, like, fundamentals that they have, because they have crazy good fundamentals as a support player.
For sure. What about Keria then? Because obviously, like, not only did he revolutionise the meta, and it's part of why they won Worlds with T1, but everyone will be able to see if they have eyes. His mechanics are ridiculous for a support. Like, what about this guy?
I look up to him so much when it comes to those picks. Like, right, I tried to do it with Soraka, I did it, but of course, you know, like, he should get the praise he gets. Like, this guy just like pulls off Kalista, pulls off Caitlyn, you know. I was happy when, you know, we played, I think, first year at Worlds, right? And we're kind of getting clapped all around, like in scrims. And then I'm like, okay, guys, just pick me Soraka, maybe we're gonna win. And we like clap them. I'm like, one game we got the scrim off like this. I'm like, holy shit. Okay, I mean, okay, we didn't clap them. Like, I'm a bit like on bot lane, we like won quite actually like good. We are doing good. Then the game got so tricky that we won somehow. I don't know how, but I was like so happy because, yeah, Keria. Like then later, Keria showed me that he can just pick whatever he wants if he has like a good concept around it and like the way he wants to play, and his mechanics will just showcase off as well. Like during the laning phase and later, like when he picks champs like Caitlyn or Kalista, he does not only, you know, is good. He is not only good mechanically, he also has like whole idea around it. It's not like he's just gonna play it and the game will magically end itself. Otherwise, everyone would do this. But he just makes it work. And you know, I'm not sure if it's him like only, you know, if it's other players. Like I'll never know probably, right? But he just makes it work, and it has to be part of him, right? That it just showcases such a good League of Legends, and that's something that I aspire to be too. You know, to be able to. I mean, I wouldn't like to. Like I don't want to just be like, you know, picking whatever I want like every time, but I want to, right? Like I'm aspiring to have those picks, right, that I just pull off out of nowhere, and I think to me it's like really gratifying. It just like it gives me a fun piece that I need nowadays too, right? From the league, when you play a champion that nobody really plays or like very little was played, and you have the knowledge and they don't know, and you can abuse it. That's like a nice part of it, but it's also you're just grateful that you spent so much time in order to get those small edges. Like, you know, that's like me with like items or runes, you know, I put a lot of work in like this stuff to be, you know, and now I believe I'm consistent enough to like, I don't need to think that much in order to like get the best out of it, right? And I want to do the same with other aspects in my game in order to be the best.
Right, obviously the most famous European spot is Hylissang, partly because of things he's also done at Worlds and in all the LEC years. And during the years you were playing, you've seen the good and the bad. You've seen the peak ones where people thought he should be the MVP. You've seen the ones where people thought he should be like fired and out of his team. And he's obviously a crazy player. Like anyone who talks to any of his teammates, like I'll tell you, he's a very, very popular teammate. Everyone in his teams loves this guy. Who is Hylissang as a support player? Someone who's coming in the league and he's already on top. What have you admired? What's unusual? Who is this guy?
Yeah, you always had to think of those angles. Like for me, one part was like, you know, just making sure that Hilly doesn't get a Hilly champion, so we can, you know, so I can make work on bot lane and he doesn't terrorize the game with like some Pyke or Blitz of his. And that was like one of the big things, right, early for me. Then just the fact, you know, how he looks for specific angles and how he views the game. I think he just found sometimes the angles that nobody else would. And then, like, for instance, in my first year, me and Inspire would, like, review the game. And there is a play that he completely inted, right? But then Inspire is like, wait, but what if he, you know, he like, at some point he just saw an angle that Hilly was looking. He's like, holy shit, that guy is a genius, you know?
Oh, so
like,
it could have worked. Like, there was like a logic to what he was trying
it would have worked if, like, one of two things, you know, went a bit differently. You know? We're like, holy shit, that's actually true, you know? Like, it could have worked. And yeah, Hilly, when it comes to those things, he has something in his mind that he just makes things work. But of course, right, there's situations in which he just looks the way he looks. But I don't know, like he made so much good things, right? And there's so many concepts from his that people just have to be aware of. Like, yeah, everyone heard of Hilly stopping your tempo off. So yeah, you're like, you have to go to like all the second turret to even get a base off or stuff like this, right? And that's something that Heo primarily was the one doing it constantly. And yeah, like when I look at him, like you just look up to players like this. You just want to be like them, and also just try to like get those kind of concepts in your game, right? And he and other supports taught me quite a lot, right? That's why I try to pick up all of those things, right? And it's sad when you do one of those things. You're like, oh, this guy does the hilly, right? So they're just like putting you like, yeah, but okay, why not? Okay, sure.
True.
Like that was the best play I could do. Okay, if that's a hilly, okay, perfect. I did a hilly, so I can be proud of myself.
Along similar lines, then, what about Mikyx? Because obviously this is someone you directly battled many, many, many times over the years with all his different ADCs. Like, it's funny because there was many years he was himself in the shadow of Hylissang, but I think this last year was insane, mate. Like, I even told him, I think you're just the MVP of the whole LEC, mate. He was cracked. Like, what do you think of Mikyx?
Yeah, I believe he was like consistently the MVP of the previous year of LEC. He was just so consistent, and he just did what he had to do for a team, and when it comes to champion pool as well, he was at least.
You had to be loving some of the other picks, like the Lissandra. You even did a fucking Jarvan pick at one point.
Like you can, you could see his. I could look at his solo queue. I'm like, okay, is this guy gonna pick Fiddlesticks today or not? Like I can't tell, right? I can't tell. I look at his champion pool in solo queue. I'm like, okay, sure. He kind of made it work with like some champs, Like if you played against him, I was thinking, if that guy gets a Bard game, he's just gonna terrorize the whole game just because he played so much this, and that's how they play right now too. It was just and then if he doesn't do that, he would just play with Hans would just play Kalista or Draven. He would just play Rel and go on you, and he would just make sure Hans is 10-0 so they can easily win the game. And that was something that helped his team like so much. It was really crazy to see. And I think also the fact that he worked well with Yike, with how they set up Caps too, and like how Caps also like with Caps Mickey as well, the work that they did together. Like there's so many things that Mickey was a part of that it's hard to say that he was not the MVP. And he is for sure like this player right now in the West that it just showcases that maybe the level here is too low for him, right?
Right, like I said earlier, I do feel like people got lost in when Rogue was just picking the Enchanter meta, and they make it sound like that's all you play. Because like I said, what's hilarious is your actual signature champion's fucking Rakan. You have 1 billion won competitive games on this champion. Like your win rate's fantastic, right? Do you think of Rakan as the Trymbi champion? And can you give us some thoughts? What should a good Rakan do? What sets apart a good Rakan from just an ordinary guy playing the champion?
I mean, I do believe Rakan is my champion just because of the versatility of the champion, and that's what I kind of love about it. Because, not nowadays, but back in the day when he kind of he was out, you could play him as an engage, you could play him as an enchanter, you could play him as like a pillar, and he has like the kit to do so, right? It's kind of the way Thresh was back in the day, but Thresh got a bit. It's just too old of a champion now, right? It doesn't do as good as a job as Rakan. And Rakan just, that's why I loved him so much, and that's why I tried to play as much games as him. When he was released, it was my first time when in my solo queue I had most played other champion than Thresh when he got released. Just because I had like negative win rate on that champion, even though I had most played on him in solo queue, just because I loved that champion. And the good Rakan, when you can see a good or like insane Rakan, is the fact first how slow he plays and what he decides on to do. Because when you see a good Rakan, he'll just like try to look for a flash engage ult. That's what you see normally with like the W, right? They just look for engage, and it mostly works, sometimes doesn't. But the really great Rakan is like he figured out what's the best for his team to do, what's the best like situation, and he'll either let the game go or the team fight go, and he'll go in the exact moment that he needs, and he'll just stomp the team fight. And if not, then he'll like peel off one of the carries that he's just going on he's gonna peel off the carries of your team when enemies have only option to do so, while like a good Rakan will just, and again he will just engage, right? Because he has the W that he can do so. But I think the great Rakan just knows what is the goal of the team fight, and he just makes everything work and tries to put it in a good timer. Because I could catch myself, right, when sometimes I would go too early and I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. I should have like waited like 1 or 2 seconds, then the team fight would have been over if I played it properly, right? And that's something that people underestimate on Rakan.
Right, being as at the moment no one knows competitively when we'll see you next, I have a good question sort of end on a high, which is if someone wanted to go back and watch a game of Trymbi at the professional level, what's a game you would recommend? What's one that you're proud of? Like, you did great in this one, or you had an excellent performance. What would you pick out? What's coming to your mind?
Whole game or only specific?
It's up to you. You can pick.
For sure, when it comes to laning phase, I think the game 2 versus Mad Lions in first finals, I think.
Okay, so spring 2021.
Yes. Yeah, I think I had really good Rakan game. Like the whole game. Oh, okay. It was also against Mad Lions. It was the regular season. I'm not sure if it was 2021 or if it was spring 2021 or summer, but it was against Mad Lions and I was playing Galio. I'm really proud of that game. I think I made a champion that very little people play. Like I used all of the things that this champion can give. I used them. And I made sure that in a team fight I do my role, and you can see it. Like I don't know, like you can even check the comms. Like it just, I'm really proud of that game. I think that game like showcased me that I can pick any champion I want, and if I'm aware enough, I can just I can just get the game going for my team.
At the end of this interview, do you have a final message? Is there anyone you want to thank or say hello to?
I mean, I'm really happy with how the things went from my years anyway. Like the things were good and bad, and I think like all of this experience will help me at the end of the day throughout my whole life, not only the career. And yeah, I'm thankful for all the people that I met that they gave me the trust, and I hope that they feel like it paid off, right? That it's worth, because now I have so many good people that I can talk to, and I'm happy that I'm a part of it, and I'm really hopeful I'm gonna be a part of it too for the next time. But yeah, that's something that will be figured out in the next time.
Dziękuję.
Thank you.
I've had to make a lot of tough choices in my career, but thanks to the support of my Patreon community, the Illuminati, I never have to make tough financial decisions. So this video and all the rest on my channel are kindly supported by Ahmed Haju, Frisky, Mac Pugnaccio Racula, Animosity, Jensen Gore, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it if you've ever heard before, and you'll hear it many times in the future. A special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerry Keys Minion. Do you want to ask a question in my video AMA? Do you want to be part of one of those long discussions where we talk about whatever you like in esports? Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming guests are going to be? Or maybe you want to suggest a topic for a future Thorin's Thoughts type video? Well, if any of these perks or others appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is today and join the Illuminati by joining the Patreon link in the description box below.